Hey, welcome back. Today I will be reacting to another video by abaandpreach, and this one is called Hasanabi False Allegations. A few things to mention before I start the video. 1, I don't know who hasanabi is. 2, I'm not familiar with the allegations. And 3, false allegations are a sensitive topic that usually involve a lot of emotion, right? They're emotionally charged. So instead of casting judgment on any individual in this video, I'm going to use what I learned as a launching pad to discuss larger social issues that I can relate to and that hopefully you can relate to as well. I just felt like I had to throw that out there because based on my recent observations, what I've found is that oftentimes people who sit behind a camera and give commentary tend to give the most extreme interpretation or reaction to what they are watching. And that's a trap that I don't necessarily want to fall into.
It all appears to start with a Discord message from a streamer by the name of Lavloon back in September. With her saying there, I think Hassan's outrage about everything is really funny because he slept with my friend when she was 17 and he was 24. With a streamer by the name of ChudLogic featuring this message in a stream yesterday, and the clip showing the message gets around. And as of recording, it has over 160,000 views. Now with this, many were pretty skeptical about the allegations because Lavloon apparently has fought with streamers in the past. And then as it started gaining traction, she changed some of the details in her story, saying in a since deleted tweet that the relationship between Hassan and her friend was legal.
It does seem a little suspicious that on one hand, you make the allegation that a 24-year-old dated a 17-year-old, but then when you're asked to produce evidence, your response is, I don't have to prove it in public. And then you follow that up by saying, what's the insane allegation? And it seems a bit gaslighty to make the public accusation that a 24-year-old dated a 17-year-old and then turn around and blame the accused for freaking out over age gap relations. I mean, if someone ever accused me of dating a female who was underage, I might freak out as well. I think the legality here is still a little blurry to me. I do find it creepy that a 24-year-old would date a 17-year-old, but A, it's not unheard of, and B, it is legal in certain states. I mean, I might be wrong. Hopefully someone in the comment section can fact check me. With that being said, it's not something I would ever consider, not just because of the potential illegality surrounding it, but because of the maturity gap and the issues that sometimes causes in a relationship if the age gap is so stark. Right? But yeah, I'm not even sure if her premise is valid. I don't know if this 24-year-old man slept with the 17-year-old. I don't know.
Relationship with a woman 5 years his junior. But they're going on to say on Patreon, Hassan Piker slept with my very young friend when he was not so young. It was legal, but he's denounced men publicly for doing much less. I don't care about it, and she's never going to come forward, but the fact exists nonetheless. An example of hypocrisy. And adding, let me be clear, she's not coming forward because she doesn't care, because none of this was a big deal. It was legal. I barely cared. Hassan did nothing illegal, probably nothing immoral either. And so unsurprisingly,
okay, so from the outside looking in, this looks like a very irresponsible allegation to put forth if the victim is not even substantiated, which is to say there is a chance she could be making up a victim, which is why the victim is not coming forward. Because theoretically, anyone could make the allegation that, hey, Manny, you slept with a 17-year-old when you were 24. And then I might think to myself, wait, have I ever slept with anyone that young? No, it's impossible. All the women I've been with are in their mid to late 20s. Hold on, show me proof. Who is the person that you're talking about? And if your response is, well, I don't think it's a big deal. Like, she was 17, you were 24, it was legal, but I'm just saying there was an age gap there. And my response might be, okay, I understand what you're saying, but you can't just make an allegation about me on the basis of a mythical figure who will not even present themselves. Because at that point, you're just making an unsubstantiated allegation against me that could potentially ruin my reputation. Based on what I've heard so far, if this is the direction that the story is headed, then we have to ask some uncomfortable questions about whether this allegation can be taken seriously. Because to backtrack and say, well, there was a stark age gap between you and the person that you slept with, but you didn't do anything illegal or immoral, seems to me like a cop-out, especially if the premise of the allegation is unsubstantiated.
It was legal, I barely cared. Hassan did nothing illegal, probably nothing immoral either. And so unsurprisingly, all of this makes its way back to Hassan, and he responds to the allegations in a stream. And there, saying the woman in question was 19 at the time of their relationship.
Such a ridiculous, slanderous lie. This person makes it so know that other people have an even harder time believing women. It's already hard enough for women to come out. What the are you doing?
So
that's true. Women already have a hard enough time being taken at their word when they do share their honest experience with sexual assault and harassment. With that being said, if you are the type of woman who out of spite, controversy, or the need for attention launches a false accusation against someone, not only do you have to take into consideration how your credibility will be damaged if the truth comes to light, you also have to consider how a false allegation will damage the credibility of all women. And I know that's an unfair burden to carry, but it's a practical one. And it's a good enough reason not to make false accusations. Because when you do, and people find out that you do, not only do you risk legal consequences, but if people find out you made a false accusation, what do you think that's going to do to your friend group? What do you think that's going to do to your family unit? Do you think people are going to feel comfortable and safe around you? No. Because they're going to be worried that your next accusation will be against them. So that's also a danger of making a false accusation, is when people find out, which they usually do, they're not going to want to go near you with a 10-foot pole. And God forbid the accusation you made was public in front of a large audience. You will always have an asterisk next to your name, a stain that you'll never be able to wipe off. And I haven't even gotten to the part where I talk about the damage that is caused to the person you are falsely accusing, because they will also have an asterisk next to their name. And there will always be a subtle question as to whether they are capable of doing what you falsely accuse them of. And this is one of the reasons I myself try to take the proper precautions when I'm interacting with people from a different sex. And it sucks that gender dynamics have to operate like this in order for people to feel safe. But I have certain rules that I go by, right? So if I'm in my office with someone from the opposite sex, my door is left open. And I am uncomfortable in certain spaces being alone with women who I don't know well. And I do keep documentation of all of my correspondence with people, but particularly because I understand the damage that can be done to my career and to my name if anyone ever falsely accused me of doing something to them. You know, I don't want you to be super self-conscious when you're around women. I don't want you to be paranoid, but I want you to be mindful that false allegations do happen, and there are ways to minimize the chances of it happening to you. Although you can never have 100% control over the narrative, right? But there are steps you can take to ensure that you are not put in a dangerous predicament based on the malice that someone might hold in their heart for you. So I would highly suggest that you document all of your correspondence the way that I do. If you feel weird about the person that you're interacting with and you don't know what their intentions are, maybe meet with them in well-lit areas, in highly populated areas, in areas that have cameras where there are witnesses who can attest to the things that are taking place. Because I had a friend in undergrad who was accused of sexual malfeasance, where he met a woman at a bar through another friend, and they started talking, they started having a good time, at least from what I could see. And since this was a group conversation, I had my eyes on them the entire time. I heard everything that was being said. I saw every motion that was being made. The next morning, I get a text from another friend who asked, "Hey, did you see what happened between your friend and this girl?" Because this girl said that he was making sexual advances towards her the entire night. And when I see that text, I'm thinking like, what the fuck? I was sitting next to the guy the entire time. And as someone who is hyper vigilant in social situations, I would know if he was making sexual advances towards her. So then I text my friend back and I'm like, "Hey, that actually didn't happen. I was there the entire time." It wasn't like I was overly distracted or there were side conversations going on, because everyone took turns speaking. And then I get a text back saying, "Well, she said your friend made this comment and that he reached over to touch her, but then she pulled back." And in my head, I'm thinking, no fucking way. There's no way. So my advice to guys is, Look, there's no foolproof way to avoid being the victim of a false accusation. However, there are steps you can take to minimize the chances of that happening. Now, for someone like Hassan, I would imagine it's extremely difficult. I don't know what his following is like. I don't know what kind of controversy he has been embroiled in the past. But when you're a public figure, I'd imagine anyone can say anything about you. And depending on the size of their audience, there might not be repercussions for what they say, even if it's a lie. And I think another piece of advice I can give is to be careful when it comes to things like sexting, right? Something that seems so benign, something that seems so harmless, because you never know how those conversations, even if they're consensual, can be taken out of context and spun to make you look bad. On that note, it's also important to distinguish between the personal and the professional, because a lot of allegations happen at the workplace. So you have to be mindful of how you interact with people of the opposite sex so as to not leave room for miscommunication. What does that mean? That means there's a time to make inappropriate jokes and to exercise sexual humor, and there's a time where that's not appropriate. There's a time to send cute little emojis to people, and there's a time to not send cute little emojis, especially in the workplace. Now, you can do these things, but you have to understand that when you engage in certain types of behaviors, they're either gonna increase or decrease the likelihood of you getting caught up in some mess. That is my advice from me to you.
So this woman in question has been running around a bunch of streaming spots and a bunch of Discord saying she's got this nuke that she's going to drop on Hassan. It could be career ending. It's going to expose him.
Duns, I'm about to drop a Hassan nuke.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
No,
Damn it.
stop.
Stop doing that. Lav, you're going to end your whole fucking career on this shit. Don't do it. Not in
People who weaponize allegations of sexual assault with the sole intent to ruin someone's reputation, as opposed to exposing the truth, are people that you really have to watch out for, right? Because there's a difference between someone who is actually a victim that comes forward because they want to have their story heard and because they want to make sure the perpetrator is held accountable, and someone who makes an allegation with the sole intent to destroy someone's career, i.e. dropping a nuke. The fact that someone would use that kind of language in the context of making an unsubstantiated allegation against someone with a potentially high profile should be telling, because survivors of sexual assault usually don't want their allegations to be paraded around for everyone to hear and know. They usually are more low key than that.
a good way. Literally, it's not worth it.
I know.
So
but every
stop.
time his name is brought up, I'm like vibrating.
Stop. No, you shouldn't be. Stop.
Just know Hassan is well known in Los Angeles.
No.
And then she comes out with the fact that he was sleeping with a 17-year-old.
She didn't
And then after she gets called out, she walks in back and says, no, actually, it was a 19-year-old. It was completely... So when you were running around saying it was a nuke before, bitch, what was it? Like 17.
Like 17.
Which is a pretty big deal. And she out here talking, and she's done this numerous times.
I won't say she's lying because I don't know, but what I will say is this. People who develop a reputation for making allegations against different people at different times in different settings within different communities are usually viewed with suspicion, because how is it that wherever you go, no matter who you're surrounded by, no matter what the circumstances are, you end up making the same allegations? Now, I think if she were living in a society that was known for inflicting violence against women at an extremely high rate, like Afghanistan or Sudan or Burma, the chances of you becoming the victim of violence over and over again is significantly higher than it is if you are an independent adult woman who lives in the nice parts of Los Angeles. And I also want to take a step back and acknowledge the fact that I could be wrong, not because I'm a man, but because I'm not a woman. And I don't know what it's like to be courted starting at the age of 10 years old. Because if you listen to women talk about their experience as pre-teens having men flirt with them, you understand how a woman could be the victim of sexual harassment time after time after time after time.
This numerous times.
Yeah, she's a serial liar.
She's a serial. All I know is this bitch is lying, okay? And she been lying. Previously, she'd called another man basically the Harvey Weinstein of Twitch. And then everyone's like, what the fuck are you trying to say? You just call this dude like some... And she's like, no. Actually, I walk that back. I shouldn't have said that.
I should not have made the Harvey Weinstein comparison. I shouldn't have. I will walk it back. I will walk it back completely.
And I was like, you just casually just be calling people some of the worst villains alive, and you think that shit's acceptable?
You at some point, you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
You know your power.
For sure. And they know the consequences their lie could have on that individual if other people take their story and run with it. So yeah, I have no empathy or sympathy for people who go around making false allegations, because they're destroying lives on every level. Not only are they destroying their own life by risking the chance of them getting caught in the lie, they're destroying the lives of women who aren't taken seriously when they make a truthful claim. They're destroying the lives of the men that they're accusing, and they're also destroying gender dynamics on a macro level. Because as men, we hear stories like this, and it makes us more paranoid. It makes us more distrustful. It makes us overcalculate our interactions with women, which can make those interactions less authentic and more shallow.
If you do it a bunch of times, you know what the hell you're doing. And then you're going to come back, and do it again because you know what you're doing, because you know you're not going to get caught. Privilege.
Let's see.
I think my brain is fine. I think well. I just don't think before I speak. I just need to be more patient. I'm just impulsive. I'm impulsive and retarded. I'm
Okay, I understand everything that she's saying, but the way she's framing it makes it sound like she's using her flaws as an excuse, right? So when she says things like, I'm just impulsive, I just don't think before I speak, I'm just the R word, instead of taking accountability and saying, listen, these are some of the worst qualities that I have, and they in part go into shaping the person that I am. And the person that I am is someone that I don't necessarily like, because I'm inflicting pain and suffering onto other people. Instead, it sounds like these qualities are being used to justify bad behavior, such as comparing someone to Weinstein, even though I know that's not a fair comparison. So the thing about it is, when you talk about your flaws as if they are immutable characteristics that you cannot change and that everyone else around you has to live with no matter how much destruction you impose on their lives, then people are going to take issue with that, because in all reality, you're not taking accountability. You're just saying, this is who I am, and you have to live with it. People will say things like, I have ADHD and that's why I can't make it to work on time, or I have autism and that's why I'm not good at reciprocating emotions or picking up on social cues. Instead of saying, listen, my brain is wired differently, and that means sometimes it takes a little more work for me to exercise empathy or self-awareness or focus. But when you talk about your flaws as if they are things that cannot change no matter what, one, it's a cop-out. Two, it's disempowering for you. And three, it's going to make people dislike you because they're going to see you as someone who is good for nothing besides making excuses. Now, I'm not applying any of what I said to this woman, but I'm saying it more generally.
I'm obviously severely mentally ill.
Nah. That's the excuse afterward. Because the first time you said that shit, I'd be like, all right, that's a fucking retarded thing to do, but hope you learn. And then you do it again and again and again and again and again and again. Nah, B. Nah, you gotta know how serious this shit is the first time you got caught doing it. Right? And then you're like, I'm impulsive, and it was fucked up and everything. And I'd be like, hey, you still a stupid motherfucker, and I can't trust you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a 13-year-old, right? You're not in the 8th grade. You're a grown adult. And when you are an adult, you have responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities involves controlling your impulses. Now, I don't know how old this young lady is, but being mentally ill is not an excuse to carry out bad behavior. There are many mentally ill people walking among us. Some might argue that I'm mentally ill, right? I've dealt with my fair share of depression, but that doesn't necessarily excuse bad behavior. It can be used in part to explain bad behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. Impulse control is something that you can work on. It's not an immutable characteristic that cannot be changed. If it were, then anyone convicted for a crime would be ruled innocent on the basis that they were just impulsive.
No, I can't. When I was a kid, I was impulsive. I was slapping motherfuckers left, right, and center. Yeah.
I was like, this is news to me.
Slap the fuck out of you. No questions. What the fuck you say? Wham. First time, like, I'm just impulsive. The next few times, people are like, nah, you gotta fucking...
That's part of who you are. If your impulses result in the same behavior over and over and over and over again, then those behaviors stack up in a way that contributes to part of who you are. So if you are not satisfied with who you are, then you need to take the necessary steps to adjust your behavior. And that involves taking accountability.
I have money, but I'm not buying it.
Hold up. You're impulsive. Your impulsivity is not something separated from you. You are the impulsive. Do you understand what that means?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't get to punch a bitch in the face and be like, I got anger management issue, as if that matters. Oops. You going to jail, stupid. I got ADHD. I can't focus and I just stuck my dick in a random bitch. That's not how it works. Like, people use this mental health shit as if it's a get out of jail free card to explain away your irrational behavior. Mm-hmm. You got a problem? Okay. Guess what that means? You gotta learn to work with your problem. Just because you have BPD does not mean you get to treat everybody like garbage and not be accountable for that. That's not what that means. It means that you are doing everything in your power to mitigate as much of the hurt as you are doing. Right. And if you hurt somebody, you still need to be accountable for that. It makes it more understandable, but it doesn't make it any less wrong. Let's keep listening.
Whatever. I'm a bad person to don't take me seriously, I guess.
Well, hold on. Nobody's saying that you're a bad person and nobody's saying that they're not taking you seriously. If it is the case that she made a false allegation against someone, well, no, hold on. It's not about you. It's about your behavior. We ain't talking about you. We talking about the behavior.
I don't know. Clearly I'm not okay. Clearly I'm not okay. I'm very mentally ill. I don't know if I should be in this space. But now I don't know.
I'm mentally ill now?
No, there are plenty of people walking around. They got BPD, bipolar, PTSD, ADD, all the letters of the alphabet. But not everyone makes false allegations. It's the same thing when they talk about these school shooters. He had a mental illness. Listen, not everyone with a mental illness goes out and commits mass shootings. So obviously there's a common denominator here other than mental illness that causes people to act a certain way. I think we live in a society that likes to pathologize people and stick labels on them to explain their behavior. But what I've learned is that evil is separate from mental illness, right? Sometimes it can be the case that someone who is evil just happens to be mentally ill. And sometimes it can be the case that someone who is evil is not mentally ill. But we have to be able to separate the two, because there are people out there who are just fucking evil, and they would be evil with or without a mental illness. And I'm not calling this individual in question evil, but I am saying that falsely accusing someone of an act they did not commit, especially something as severe as a sexual offense, is evil.
I got a lot to say, all this stuff. Now that shit's really coming down, you're mentally ill and you shouldn't be in this space. Damn, it's unbelievable how people try to escape accountability. Did you guys see that? Like a snake in the
running like a track star from accountability.
People are using this mental health thing to do a lot of things. The same way some men are using being gay whenever they do things to other men.
Wait, what?
Kevin Spacey. When he got called out, he said, well, you know, I'm gay. He came out.
Apple was like, all right, that's a weird example. That's a bit of an anomaly, but...
That as... There is such thing as gay privilege for those kind of things. And it's the same thing whenever you...
No, I think Kevin Spacey, I think he got fired, though. From the House of Cards, right?
It's not me. Here's the president talking. No.
Abba is just like, all
maybe
right.
I don't interact with the
How many
internet.
times are you going to say that before you do something about it?
I will never fucking do anything about it.
There you go.
That's that question. That way.
When are you going to do something about it?
That way.
Now let's listen to her response. Here we go.
Now, I will also acknowledge the fact that I'm hearing clips, so I might not have the full context of this situation, which is why I try to stay away from judging individuals and just assess the video that is in front of me.
I shouldn't have said anything. I'm very impulsive. Maybe I don't interact with the
How many
internet.
times are you going to say that before you do something about it.
I will never fucking do anything about it.
Wow! I heard right. Wow!
When you bring up the character flaws that she mentioned and you follow that up by saying, I'm never going to do anything about it, you are essentially saying that there is a very low ceiling on the growth, the development, and the resilience that you can demonstrate as a human being. And it's really sad because people who usually have that kind of permanent outlook, they are always on the path of destruction, both self-destruction and also the destruction of others.
No.
I've been a streamer for 3 months. Give me let me.
How many times do you have to get into these situations before you realize, fuck, maybe I need to step back and consider how I behave on stream and what I say publicly?
She's been on this shit for 3 months?
No.
And how many times did it happen?
3 times.
Every month there's a new shit?
She's been on TikTok and she's got a bunch of 500K followers for like almost 2 years.
Okay, so she's lying again.
She lied. She can't stop lying. She's acting like...
She didn't lie. She just selectively shared the information that could be used to support her case, which is disingenuous. Yeah, if you are a well-seasoned social media influencer who has hundreds of thousands of followers and you've maintained a following over the course of 2 years, then one would hope that you have developed the awareness, the etiquette, the understanding of how much weight your voice actually holds.
I'm obviously severely mentally ill. I dissociate constantly. Like I don't know like what is real and what is like
here's
not
a real
real.
piece of...
I'm extremely underdeveloped socially. Now take all of that and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I know that I made a mistake. I feel fucking bad.
It's fine. Let's erase everything that's happened up to this point.
Yeah, I don't think this conversation is appropriate to have live on stream. I guess one could make the case, well, her allegations were made public, so it only makes sense that the interrogation of those allegations would be public as well. But it sounds like she is experiencing some sort of mental breakdown, albeit if she is lying, then it's a self-inflicted breakdown. I feel weird like listening to her explain herself. It feels like a conversation I shouldn't be a part of. But that could also be because I'm relatively new to the space and I find the whole streaming community borderline toxic and unhealthy. Yeah.
You're going to go forward from the stream trying to make a change. That is the key. And
I don't know if I am, and you can't hold me to that. I don't know. Yes. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Everything becomes about me. It always comes back to me. Why?
My friends, this is a sickness of the...
I don't know what the story behind this is, but men, make a concerted effort to ensure that the women you date and court are mentally stable. Because the less stable someone is, the more likely they are to be erratic, irrational, and destructive. And although having people like that in your life does produce excitement and chaos that might appeal to you, especially if you have unresolved issues, it doesn't pay off in the long run. So I would highly recommend that for the guys out there, you find someone who, well, first of all, work on yourself, develop your own self-confidence, cultivate your own identity, figure out what your purpose is. But then after that, try your best to match up with women who mirror the best parts of who you are. That way, instead of feeding off of each other's negativity, you can feed off of each other's positivity, because that is what I think creates long-term fulfillment, at least in a romantic context.
Order. We have discovered that you are allergic to accountability.
All right, y'all, I have something to do, so what I'm gonna do is speed this up. Yeah, we're just gonna speed this up a little bit, but I do apologize. I gotta get going, so.
How that is stupid. We have created a society that rewards people for having a sickness. Look at this one. Imagine, you are nobody. Then you say somebody touched you like this, they just grab your balls like this and they sick.
All right, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Let me take a step further. She reported another dude before these two. right? And everybody celebrated her. Go queen, you're so brave. She told us the details of the story. You know what happened? This is what he claimed happened. She said she went on this date with this dude. They were flirting, went back to his place.
And then I made like a joke about it. My first video was like LOL that one time when like this LA comedian like kind of forced me to eat his ass when I was like pushing against him. LOL. And it was just like a funny video.
Wait, that doesn't sound funny. That's really extreme.
And this might be a bit fucked up, but like, I feel like eating ass has got to be one of the hardest things to force someone.
There was a lot of pressure on my head, and he was like keeping my mouth full and making sure that he was not making eye contact with me, so I couldn't say no. Like, it was very weird. I wouldn't say that to me, but it was definitely like a very strange situation.
And basically, she was eating him from the back, and then she went home. And I kept thinking to myself, do you know how hard it is to force someone to do something for you while you're on all fours? Walk away. How do you give you back? This girl bought Patreon accounts, was messaging other creators, and I'm thinking like, yo, this is crazy. But the thing is, you can't defend yourself too hard. How do I prove
something that did not happen?
Exactly. How do I prove I don't know this person? They can fabricate DMs. I can't show you a message history that doesn't exist.
It's like when Amazon asks you, give us a proof that you didn't receive the email. How? I sent a picture of me like this.
It's like you arch your back, nigga. Like, don't do that shit. Give me that email, bitch.
I have nothing.
No. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we laughing right now because you gotta laugh, but like, this is frightening. For real. Right? So we gotta cut this whole believe in win shit because after these last 4 or 5 years, we've gone to great lengths. So many high profile stories have come out. And you see, guess what? Just like men, bitches be lying too. Cut this movement out. Stop this whole idea of inherently believing people who do not present any factual evidence of what has happened. And it's gotta be a lot of evidence. Not some fucking recording that's like edited by the person themselves. Actual evidence. Because we still live in a society with minimal evidence. Women don't get the whole media behind them. Hassan's very fortunate in this regard. The person who was coming at him is a retard. If someone was a little bit more savvy, someone was a little bit more strategic, this could be far more heinous. And it would have been much more difficult for him to defend himself. Anything you want to add? No.
All right, y'all. If you enjoyed this reaction or took anything positive away from it, please let me know in the comments. Comment, like, subscribe. Shout out to you for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. I usually don't keep track of the count because what matters more is the interactions I have with y'all in the community. But I will say it was really cool to see that number go from 0 to 1,000. So yeah, I appreciate y'all. Tell me what else you want me to check out, and I will see you next time. Peace.